Hello and welcome to Aquos News. The news today is that I have seen quite a few frogs, who are mainly water-dwelling beasts. Aquos, the water-dwelling beast. He comes from somewhere in the east. He likes to eat things made of yeast. He's Aquos, water-dwelling. Just done a big old poo. Good. All right, so here we are. Welcome to this video. Oh God, the title. You know what the title is. I don't know what the title is. So far, the title in my mind, but the title on the screen is going to be different most likely. The title in my mind for this video is it's to do with the same theme that keeps popping up in my consciousness, in my thinking, my creativity, my ideas, my insight, trying to generate insight, trying to generate understanding, trying to see into situations clearly in order to understand why something is the way it is, and therefore to know what I can do that will work in order to make a difference in my life. So the situation is something like, the world is fucked. My creative life is fucked. Right? I do not earn money from my original music. I do not earn money from my original video content. I do not earn money from my original artwork material. I do not earn money from my original literature material. Now, I feel as though previous to this sort of present moment, like the 12th of March 2018, there have been a lot of personal issues inside me that have been prohibiting me from taking various actions that could allow me to earn money from those four things: music, art, literature, and video, or speaking. I'd call it speakings more generally. Yeah. Personal issues like self-esteem issues, attention-seeking issues, so feeling rejected by the world, feeling rejected by people, and not being able to handle criticism very well, not being able to handle negative, just general negative emotions from other people in response to what I do, heckling, negative comments on the YouTube page, people telling me it won't work, or people not liking what I did, or people not responding immediately with "I love you" as soon as I show them something. So that was like a sort of a neediness for validation in me that I couldn't get, and then I did get finally, and I now just don't care whether people like it or not. It doesn't stop me doing what I do. It doesn't stop me enjoying what I do. So now bringing up the idea of this cultural renaissance thing that I've spoken about in other videos on the old Firerush channel. The cultural renaissance thing is something. So, whoa, that was weird. That just fell off there, like right into my hand. Okay, maybe this is a sign. What is this? Cultural renaissance. We have a bear, cars, ticket, peanuts, tennis ball, tennis racket, car, the same thing. Well, this could be one of those kind of like Jeff Goldblum moments from Independence Day, where something random happens. Someone says something, that weird guy with the beard. It's like, "David, I don't know what's going on here. Help me, David." He says something random, or his dad says something random, I can't remember. And then Jeff Goldblum's like, "What did you just say? Say it again. What is it? The thing isn't a thing. A virus. A virus. A virus." I don't think this is one of those moments. This is just me looking at a bear. Is that? Oh, it's not a magnet. It's not a tennis racket. It's a magnifying glass. asking me to look closely at the situation. Maybe, I don't know. But that is weird because that's never happened before. In a minute, that owl will jump off and just start hooting. Poltergeisty. So, poltergeisty bear. It's looking at me now. Anyway, the Cultural Renaissance thing. I've had some more thoughts about it. So, previous to this video, I've been saying, look, the world seems to be fucked in various different ways. I can't really express how, but I feel like the world is a mess. There's a plethora of avenues of expression. There's a plethora of channels to receive information. There's the internet has basically multiplied our ability to receive information in different ways and of different types. So music, articles, journalism, video, news, computer games, all kinds of mental, emotional culture, which can be delivered by the internet. Because you can't really deliver physical culture very well by the internet. You can't. I don't know what I'm trying to say now. Yeah, so I'm trying to make a comparison between the new age of internet culture versus the older age of mainstream media culture. And so the difference would be from CDs to MP3s, or from tape to MP3s. That's quite a big difference on how you consume your music, from CDs to MP3s. So CDs, you have to go somewhere physically. You have to buy something tangible, an object. You have to take it home physically. You have to put that somewhere physically to store it. You have to open something physically. You have to put something in something else, a machine physically, which you also have had to buy out of a range of different machines that are available. And you hear it out loud, kind of physically, in the open air, mainly, but not solely, obviously. But yeah, and that's that. Whereas that's like a tape or a CD or a record, whatever. And now, so you have MP3s, and the difference with that would be, right, so there's no physical article here, there's no physical artifact. There's no physical item. We know this, obviously. It's been like this for a while. So you don't have to go anywhere to buy it. So you stay where you are. Okay, fine. You don't receive anything physical. It just appears and it just downloads into your list of songs or whatever. Or not even that anymore, because we're streaming, aren't we, mostly these days? I don't stream, but most people who are into new music tend to be streaming rather than buying anything. Well, buying anything at all, actually. You buy your subscription, don't you? You buy your subscription to Spotify or Deezer, or I don't even know actually what's the new biggest one these days. Or iTunes, Amazon. I don't know, how are they working? Are they working a streaming thing? Blah. Who knows? Well, yes, they are working streaming services. Yes, yeah, I do know that. Okay, so we're streaming music for a fixed price per month, giving you unlimited access to a whole library of music. Okay. Nothing gets transferred. So, I mean, there's no article, there's no item, so there's no physical component to this. We listen mainly in the ears rather than out loud on big speakers, because the culture of the internet is inward culture. It's a phone-based culture. So there's one article or item, artifact, within which everything else takes place. Conversation, video, and that links into everything else. Whether you project your phone screen onto a TV via a Chromecast or some other such device. So I'm not kind of completely figured out what I'm trying to even say here. what I'm trying to get at. Like, I feel like there is a problem in the world culturally, namely because, from my personal perspective, it's not a marketplace that it is even possible, that I sense, for me to earn money as a musician in my own right, doing original music in a band. There's just not the infrastructure at the moment for that, and there used to be the infrastructure for that. You could work. You could run your band, as a working originals band that didn't necessarily have to become super successful. You could still work in an originals band for its lifespan, obviously, but you could make money from that because you could be selling CDs. And the competition with CDs was only other people's CDs, right? So whereas in a streaming service, everything comes under the one subscription. So your competition as a band on a streaming service, no one's buying your actual thing. So no one's buying your music specifically. So if I was to go on a Spotify or something or other like that and listen to the Foo Fighters' new album, streaming it, I'm not paying specifically for that band. So that band, by me listening to that music, only gets whatever like percentage of my monthly subscription is proportional or something like that to how much I listen. I don't even know, like, or what fucking system is it? It's weird. But for the kind of on the ground band scene, it's just very strange. There's no infrastructure for bands to make money in the way that they used to be able to. So they used to be able to play live, make money from ticket sales, make money from selling of merchandise at gigs. Now this still does happen, of course, but what I'm talking about is the real grassroots level. There used to be the ability for any old crappy band to at least be earning something from their crappy music played in crappy clubs, right? They could earn at least money for beers or something. It might not have been a living, but they could earn something from what they were doing from their original music. And then so now I'm thinking about artwork and stuff as well. I don't know if this really makes sense here, but I'm a traditional artist. I'm not a digital artist. I draw and I paint. I draw more than I paint, but I draw mainly. And now I don't know if there is really a place for physical art. I'm sure there is a place for it because people still buy physical art, but there's such a weighting of focus of the human mind into the avenue of the phone, the artifact of the phone, that physical art would most likely just appear as something on your phone or on your computer screen that you would look at and you put it as a background, or you just look at it as a photo or something. You don't kind of go and see that thing. You don't own that thing. So it means that for me as an artist, how do I make money? I think there's probably more of a traditional art scene than there is a traditional music scene at the moment. I can sense that in the ether. What else have we got? So we've got literature. And literature is strange as well because there are still thriving bookshops, but there's so much online content available in terms of things to read online for free, like I'm just talking about Wikipedia, articles, websites, clickbait stuff that you find on Forbes, on whatever fucking websites you're into. There's always something that you can be reading online, where if you transfer that back, as in map that across to, let's say, the 90s, before the internet came along, what were we reading? We were reading magazines, newspapers, journals, comics, books, print, basically. It's just print, isn't it? It's printed material, so printed paper-based, cardboard, print, so it's just print, so it's words on paper, pictures on paper,
photographs on paper. So that's how we're consuming our print, how we're consuming our text, our mental stuff. So it was in there. Now we have, it's the same thing, but it's just in a different form. So there's no real difference between reading something on a page, apart from that it does feel slightly different to read something on a physical paper than it does to read it on the internet. And still, to this day, certain kinds of information I much prefer to read in a physical book. I don't really like Kindle reading. I don't really like screen reading. I don't mind it for Wikipedia and stuff, but even so, my ability to read on screen is lower, and it's just something not great about reading on a screen of any kind, even when it's been made to be easy to read. It's just something that's just wrong about it. Something just not feel right. Don't know why. It's just like, I'd rather not. I'd rather read out. I'd rather hold something in my hand. I'd rather turn a page. And I'd rather dwell on that page for as long as I wish to. The physical article is very strong for me. And this is something that's been bemoaned for ages with the birth of the internet and everything becoming less and less physical and more digital. People have been whining about this for ages, since it first came out. Oh, we don't like it because it's not the same as it was before. Yeah, but I really still feel that way. I still feel that way, and the internet's been out for fucking ages. We've been reading shit on TV type screens basically for ages. And it's not changing. I'd still prefer to read a physical book. I'd still prefer to draw a physical drawing than to use some kind of graphic designy penny thing, whatever. I'd still rather use a physical item. Doesn't matter how fucking clear I can make a drawing on internet, how realistic it can be even. I just don't care. There's something about the physicality of things that keys into your internal feelings. So I feel like it's easier to express feelings when there's an element of physicality to what you are doing creatively. So that's why playing a guitar is more expressive and more fun and more real somehow than programming a guitar on MIDI on a software production program, a music production program, app. Sorry, some people don't even understand the word program these days. Program, app, whatever. Okay, so I feel like I'm just saying really obvious stuff at the moment. But there's something more that this is just kind of my personal understanding, and why I feel like, okay, so everything I used to know about what I thought my career was going to be and look like is now completely changed, and I have not adapted very well, basically, to the new climate of internet culture. So I'm a maladaptive personality at the moment. But also, I don't even really like here, mostly, and the films that I watch mostly are really trashy. Not because I'm choosing to watch trashy films, but I've just noticed over the last 3 years, the quality in films seems to be deteriorating. The last really big, emotionally impactful films that I watched were In the Heart of the Sea, which is memorable for me because it had a message that I could resonate with, which hasn't actually done particularly well. It's got really bad ratings, but for me personally, I enjoyed it. I felt like it had something I could get into touch with. And Inside Out, which was the 2015 Disney Pixar film, which got very high ratings. Those two films were probably the most impactful films that I have seen in the last don't know, actually. Those two films are awesome for me. Since those two films, let's say since 2015, I've not been particularly moved by a film. There's nothing particularly memorable that stands out as being an awesome film. Long-term awesome, might be awesome for a little while, and then, as is the way of things, your enthusiasm wanes. The most awesome film lately has been The Last Jedi, for the fact that it was awesomely terrible, awesomely bad. Like, the sheer awe at how horrendous this film was for me. It's still there in my consciousness. I still watch videos about how horrible this fucking film was every now and again. I'm still quite addicted to the trashing this fucking film. I love it. I can't get enough of hearing about how bad this film was. And there's so many different aspects as to why it was bad, and the effect that it's had on people as to, what it means for them as Star Wars fans, what it means for them as just a moviegoer, what it means about the industry, all sorts of stuff. So there's like so many different things that I'm trying to pull together here in my understanding, and then figuring out, okay, well, what's the next fucking step? Because in one sense, sorry, I'm just getting another thing here about YouTube. So YouTube, I feel, so YouTube's been going for a while as well. How long's YouTube been alive for? Alive. YouTube is dying. Sorry, that's just my search. YouTube. Inception. Beginning. I mean, you probably know this already, and you're going, oh, it was fucking 2009. It was 2007. YouTube. Fucking when did YouTube start? History of YouTube. Okay, fine. February 2005. February 14th. Valentine's Day 2005. At 9:13 p.m., the internet domain name youtube.com was activated. February 14th, 2005. And so that's 13 years ago. Just gone 13 years. So the YouTube is now a teenager, and it's the most precarious of teenagers, because teenagers are idiots, basically. They're fickle. They get into trends and get out of trends very, very quickly. They have a certain fashion sense one week, and the next week they have a completely different fashion sense, because they're trying to find out who they are in the world and what they like and what they're doing and what they want to do long term. And this is sort of tying into my theory of bringing the internet into line with, or paralleling the life of the internet with the paralleling the life of a human being. So the internet, when was the internet started? The internet started in the 90s. The internet, so it says 1983, but we'll say 1990, because it says the online world then took a more recognizable form in 1990 when computer scientist Tim Berners-Lee invented the World Wide Web. Hold on a minute, I've got an idea. It's called the World Wide Web. What's that? Just sort of load of computers chatting shit to each other. So, okay. So 1990. So the internet itself is now 28 years old. Is that correct? Why is my math so terrible? Yeah, 28. So the internet is well, it's starting to mature into full-on adulthood. We've gone through adolescence of the internet itself. Now, as a being, as a creature, what happens around 28? So in the mid, I only know from my own life, but in the mid-20s to mid-30s, as I understand, we get a real refining of what we're about in the world. We get this development of deeper responsibilities. So it could be a commitment to family, a longer-term commitment to career. You might have some significant changes in that period of time, like whether it be big relationship changes, for example, the end of a very long-term old relationship, the beginning of a new very long-term relationship, the end of a long-term prior career, and then a possible diversification or intensification of a pre-existing career path. Like, for example, for me, I'm feeling like probably around the age of 35, I will have taken everything that I learned from the point of like when I was 15 or something, having decided to go into creativity as a career, taking art, literature, music, drama of some kind as being this is what I want to do with my life. That was a big decision I made at the age of roughly 15, but the seeds were there in a sort of vague, undefined form beforehand anyway, being interested in those things. Interested. But there was a conscious decision made and a commitment made in my heart or in my sort of wider life. Somehow I said to my dad basically at the dinner table, I'm in a band. Well, he knew I was in a band. I'm telling to you, I was in a band, and I said to my dad at the dinner table one time, in a ski resort in France, around a dinner table. I remember it very clearly. We were sat at a table, there was candles and so on, it was snowing outside, I presume, or there had been snow, and it was up in a fucking mountain, and I was 15 or so, and I said to my dad, I want to do this. Like, I want to do creativity. I want to do my creative subjects, I think is what I said. And I want to do my band. And that's what I want to do. And at that moment, that you could say that decision right there, or that coming out, this is what I want to do. Creative coming out, like, I expose my desire to the world. I expose it's not sexuality, what is it? Intentionality. I expose my intentionality to the world. Harumph. And so I did that. And then from that point on, that's what I did. And have been doing those things in one way or another throughout the rest of my life until now. And I will continue to do those things throughout the rest of my entire life in some way or another, depending on how my abilities change. If my hands sort of my hands fall off for some reason, I can't use them, then I'll have to start painting with my elbows and playing guitar with my toes, or doing things with my eyebrows. I don't know. I'll find a way to be creatively expressive and making things to share with other people, which is a big part of creativity. It's not just about making something and then looking at it and rubbing it up against your face every night and going yes, and wanking over it and stuff for yourself. It's about going, here, you have a wank over that. Listen to this. Doesn't that sound very nice? It's all about sharing and enriching other people's lives. That's the basis of what I believe creativity is about for me. It's about doing what I want to do, enjoying it in myself, and sort of helping other people to enjoy it, sharing that to other people and inspiring them or giving them some enjoyment from it, and then me obviously enjoying the fact that other people are recognizing what I've done and the other people are enjoying what I have done. So it's like a double whammy. I enjoy what I'm doing and I enjoy that other people are enjoying what I'm doing. It's all a big enjoyment fest. It's a shag fest of enjoyment. So it's like you're shagging someone and you're enjoying what you're doing, and you're also enjoying it more because they're enjoying what you're doing, and you're also enjoying what they're doing. So it's all enjoyment in the intensity of enjoyment. It's like I'm enjoying my action, I'm enjoying the actions that are coming to me, I'm enjoying the fact that they're enjoying the actions that I'm doing, and they're enjoying the fact that I'm enjoying. And they're enjoying the fact that I'm enjoying the fact that they're enjoying the fact. So we're all enjoying the fact. So it just becomes multiplied. Right, okay, good. So I made that decision about my life when I was 15, and as I was gonna, the point I was trying to make here is that by the time I get to 35, I reckon I will have synthesized all the life experience that's come before me, because I've had a shitload of life experience, mainly terrible. A couple of good things have happened. Somewhere. Wait a minute, there was this one time when I was in the garden and I saw a bee and it didn't sting me. There have been some good times. Oh God, a real positive, good. I'm sure there were. But you know what it is that the truth is actually that all the bad things are actually the good things. Now I'm getting really pretentious. But all the shit that's happened are the most rich. They're the richest vein of gold in your life. Because all the shitty experiences that you go through, if you learn from them and you take the energy of those bad things and you transform the energy of those bad things into something new and creative, where you take the essence of all those bad things and you find out that the essence of all events, all life events is energy. It's life energy. It's just sort of experiential energy, should we call it experiential energy? That sounds good. And you synthesize your life experience, you synthesize your observations, you synthesize your understandings, you synthesize your thoughts, you synthesize your feelings, you synthesize what you know from your relationships. So you bring all these different things together from reading, knowledge, practice, theory, observation, as I've said, your kind of intuitive understanding of what you have done, your intuitive understanding of what there is in the world, and you bring everything together that you already know, and then you shake it all about, and you kind of something new comes out basically from life experience. That's where creativity comes from. Is, well, you have these experiences and you want to express something about what you've learned or what you know or what you want to say or what has happened, and you want to create something new from the material of the old that mixes in your fucking consciousness, in your heart, in your emotions, in your mind, and what comes out of that after a period of sort of some, as I just sort of said, synthesis or processing, or some kind of like work ethic directed towards making sense of the past and making sense of experience, creatively making sense of it. That if you're involved in creatively producing work based on like it could be old experience or even imagined experience, so you're processing still experience, and you do this and what comes out of it is something new. I mean, it doesn't just happen randomly. You actually have to kind of sit at a fucking page and do something, or sit at the computer and do something, or sit at your webcam and do something, or fucking whatever your medium is, you have to be still working in that medium to practice your skills to be able to deliver and execute whatever ideas it is that you have. Whether it's in the field of invention or in the field of music or in the field of applications, whatever it is, you need obviously technical skill and you need know-how and ability to be able to execute and deliver the things that you have got the idea for. You can't, and you're going to need the help of other people as well to do that. But you need primarily to synthesize your experience. Like, think about an inventor like Steve Jobs. Jobs. So his experience that he's synthesizing is his experience of technology, his experience of life, but his experience of business as well. So he's synthesizing what does he know? What does he know? What does he want? What does he see? What is missing? What does he want to bring? And that's his synthesis, is taking problems and gaps and lacking senses of lack and desire and information and understanding, and kind of cobbling all these things together or synthesizing them all together into an idea of something, a vision of an article or a system or a way of doing things, or a whole new paradigm of doing things. So not only is it an object, let's say for the iPhone or whatever, not only is it the object itself, the article, the item, but it's also what that can do for you, how it operates, and what it does for your lifestyle. So the iPhone is not just the creation of the object, it's the deletion of CDs right there, isn't it? So the iPhone and the iPod was that obsoleted CDs right there. That's what that was. So it's not only the article, it's what it does for the rest of your life. Sponsored by Apple. Ding. Okay, so right, and so by the time I get to 35, I think that I certainly know that I'm going through a real kind of synthesis period in my life, because everything I'm doing at the moment is about understanding what has come before in my personal life, and also understanding what there is and what has come before in the wider world. And I'm trying to bring together ideas of, well, what am I fucking going to do now, basically. So now going back to why was I talking about this? The internet. The internet was born roughly in 1990. So the internet is 28 years old. So the internet is in its late 20s. And if you think of the internet as it's not even it's a cultural phenomenon, it's a technological phenomenon, it's a human phenomenon, because it's an expression of us as humanity. It's something that works for us and works against us depending on how we use it. And it's a technology, it's an extension of ourselves, it's an extension of our brains, it's an extension of our emotions. So it's like a sort of projection collectively of what we're about at the moment, humanity. Okay, which is something to do with connectivity and sharing. Connectivity, information sharing. I don't know. Oh, there we go. YouTube, was created by PayPal employees as a video. PayPal, eh? That's been around for a while. As a video sharing website where users could upload, share, and view content. Share. Yeah. Sharing's big, isn't it? It's a big thing. Sharing is caring. Right, so the internet is 28. Now, in terms of a human lifespan, you're starting to come into your own in that frame of life, aren't you? A lot of people tend to find the teens to late 20s a period of quite consistent change. So there will be changes of relationship, changes of job, changes of living situation, maybe. I've had probably more change than most, but in terms of jobs, relationships, living situations. Oh, God. Okay, so I know what I'm talking about a little bit on this. Lots of change, lots of change. Okay, so the internet is like coming into its own now. There was a period a few months ago where I was thinking, the fucking internet, what is it? What is it about? Like, why do we have it? It just sort of came. It just grew and popped up, and now, 28 years later, I've suddenly realised it's there. You know, it's like something that was there all along, and I've been using it, yes, of course, and I've been interacting using it, and it's been there and constant go-to thing. It's a go-to fucking thing. It's like the TV. The TV, when it was there, it was like the constant thing to go to. You get home and you go and watch fucking TV, your favourite show or whatever. Now, it's like you get home from work and you're on the internet in some form. So watching something on the internet, talking to someone using the internet, isn't it? You know, even WhatsApp, Facebook, social media is all based on the internet. It's all based on the fucking internet. It's not the same as having phone conversations with people. It's very, very different. Okay. So the internet is 28 years old, roughly. It's coming into its own. In the life of a human, you would have now, like, this is where a human being starts to move into their prime years. So between the ages of like 30 and 50 are really prime creative contribution type of years. Active, the boob grabbing, the active deepening of contribution and of responsibility and impact. You know, a feeling of like settling. So the personality kind of refines and settles and fixes in a certain sense, like it knows what it's about, and you know what you're about, and you know what your main drives are, and you know where your main interests lie. So it's a phase of like deepening into them and delivering value from that. So if you've trained or been training by the time you're 30, you have done a big bulk of your training already. So you're now at the peak, or sort of beginning of the peak phase of your ability to deliver what it is that you do really, really well. And then between sort of the ages of 30 to 50, we have a very peak time. Even, hold on, so athletics is a different matter, but in terms of the physical body, all right, so the physical body has certain physical body is better in certain phases of life at certain things than it is in other phases of life at certain things. So, you know, sexual activity varies in different age ranges, doesn't it? And athletic ability varies depending on different age ranges. So there's not many people running the 100 meters at the age of 90 because it's fucking hard work and nobody can be bothered anymore, and it's not very quick when they do. Okay, but that's obvious, right? That's obvious. But what I'm trying to say here is, because I'm making this comparison, obviously, between a human being and the internet, generally speaking. So the internet is like coming into its late 20s, into its 30s, and then we're going to have a peak time. This is only seeing it as a personality, as a human being, as a creature. Okay. Now the internet was probably going to outlast the lifespan of a human being quite considerably. Let's look at, I don't know, is it though, or isn't it? I mean, we don't know. We don't actually know what it will mutate into, because the internet itself is just, it's like a connective force in the world. It doesn't have a particular form as such. I mean, yeah, it's like a load of wires and it's a system of servers and computers, but that's not really what it is, because the internet at its essence is not any one of those computers or any one of those sets of wires or any one individual user or any one individual computer recipient system. It's something like a connective concept, something like that, and it's got its infrastructure involving, you know, wiring and satellite and the broadcasting infrastructure of Wi-Fi and all the cable and all that shit that is like there. That's obviously part of it, but that's not what it is in its essence. It's connectivity, isn't it? It's connection of information, connection of an exchange, connection and exchange of information on a very wide, worldwide web type of way. So we know that, and but that may well be the backbone for a different infrastructure that comes along. I mean, it's kind of like, if you think about the TV and radio thing, they in a way paved the way for the internet, because what TVs and computers and the infrastructure is very similar in terms of like electricity and broadcasting and blah, blah, blah. It's all it's kind of like makes sense evolutionarily wise to go from TV to computer to connected computers to phones that are connected as well, and it's like it's all becoming more and more connected, isn't it? And then I don't know what it's going to be next, but is it something like internet becoming AI in itself, like Skynet or something, and it having its own say? I mean, I feel like the internet already has its own intelligence to it anyway, even if you just think about it in terms of its algorithms, like set by Google and set by different websites. That's a primitive form of intelligence, which is pre-programmed, but some of these algorithms may well start to become more than that. So you may find, like, I feel like trends in the internet are a form of AI in a way. That trending is humanity plus the internet are creating this, like, it's like thought patterns. It's like thought patterns. So you get a thought pattern in your own mind, and it goes blah blah blah, blah like that, and it's a trend, and you think about that for a while, maybe, and then it goes, or it's just a thought pattern that goes through your head, like a little idea or a little thought pattern goes through your head. And that's the same with trending on the internet, but the internet is the brain, and our trending ideas go across the screen of the internet and across the screen of our minds simultaneously. But I just feel like such a strange thing in itself, the internet, and like I feel as though we haven't really fully understood what it is there for, what it's about, and it's only sort of now that I've even bothered thinking about what is the purpose of this thing, because originally it had not been questioned. I've not questioned it. It's just sort of go along with it kind of thing. And now I'm starting to go, okay, well, how am I using this thing? How does this relate to the rest of my life, and how has this impacted the rest of my life as well? This internet device, you know, what has it done to the world? And I don't know, but I sense that if I think of something and I have a certain feeling about something, then there are going to be other people who feel that way or similarly to me, and other people who have the same sort of ideas as well. So there are going to be people out there who are going to be like suddenly starting to question, what is the internet about and why is it here, and you know, is it necessary as well, is another aspect of this whole thing. Is this the correct thing for us? It's just sort of spiraled out of control in that I don't know if we're even controlling the damn thing anymore. I think it's probably controlling us more than we're controlling it. I feel like the internet has a certain draw to it. Ooh, and it takes us where it wants us to go, more than we direct it to where we want it to go. I feel like the internet has become its consciousness. It's become a form of consciousness. It's become a form of a way that our consciousness is directed and pulled from idea to idea. The internet itself seems to have a way of moving our brains around, basically, from one thing to another, like that. So perhaps that's a good thing. Perhaps as the internet becomes more clarified in that's what its nature is. Its nature is to suggest and show collective information to us. So perhaps the internet as a whole is a way of the human consciousness, the human collective consciousness, to communicate with itself, but for the individual human to connect to the collective consciousness of humanity via this tool, which we could see it as being a sort of reflection of what humanity is saying at any given moment. Perhaps it will become a bit like that. So it's certainly becoming like an outsourced mind, for sure. Like, I can type anything into Google and I'm going to find the information that I need about that. So it's an outsourced mind. My mind says I want to learn about this, or I want to find something about this, or I have a vision or an image or a need for something about this, and I'm going to type it in there, bearing in mind if my search terms are accurate enough, and if there is stuff there or not, then it will come up. So it's like a direct reflection of what my mind wants to see, or what my heart wants to hear, my heart wants to bring into itself. So you could see the internet as like a mirror to the mind, a mirror to the heart, and a feeding. It's feeding. It's a way of the mind and heart to feed itself with new things, stimulate itself. Entertainment, information, connectivity, other people. But it's not quite clear. The internet itself is not clear enough yet. There's still kind of gunk, still gunky, still piles of crap, full of adverts as well. Full of adverts, which is sticky. Ugh, let's get rid of them. Ooh, what the fucking advertising. I think advertising may well become a thing of the past, which would be amazing, because advertising has been one of the most deleterious things to the heart of the human being, because it's so manipulative and it's so focused on giving us things that we don't actually need nor really want. It's a way of promoting and fabricating new desires with the sense of them being independently arrived at, whereas they haven't been independently arrived at. They've been shoved into you. I know this is just really garbled, because I haven't quite figured out for myself what the hell I'm trying to... I don't know what question I'm trying to answer. I don't know what problem I'm trying to solve. I don't know what exactly idea I'm trying to create. I don't know what I'm trying to do. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I don't know what my agenda is here. It's just there's stuff floating around in my consciousness about what is the internet, and about culture in the internet. There's still another thing I wanted to say about the trashiness of culture now that the internet is here. Really big trashiness. Something I feel that's connected with the internet and trashiness of culture. Ephemeral nature of culture. So much more ephemeral, fleeting nature of culture since the internet, I feel. There's no sort of go-to things that are long-lasting items of culture, articles of culture, whether it's a band, whether it's a piece of art or a style of art, whether it's a film, whatever. There's less and less feeling of cultural things being an item, being a thing, being an object, because there are less and less objective. I think there are less and less physical objects, for one thing. The whole thing of downloading computer games was just really weird onto a PlayStation. I think I found that really strange. I don't know why. Why do we even need to buy a physical fucking console? Why can't we just I don't know. Surely there's gonna become it's unnecessary for us to even have a console. Maybe the whole internet will become its own. Find a way to. I don't know, man. Just shove all the actual processing power of all the computers, the actual computers of the world, into one central way of sharing processing power throughout the world, so that the actual computers are processing, I don't know, something, and then their whole fucking internet is a server, or every PC that's connected to the internet is a server for the creation of Godzilla. I don't know. Or Skynet. What am I on about? Fuck me, man. Okay. So, it's just bizarre. It's kind of, I don't even know what I've watched. If that makes sense. I don't even know what I've watched, because so much have I watched. It's just the imagery in my mind and the reading material in my mind is just I don't know what I've watched. I can look through my history on YouTube and figure out what I've watched and look at what I've watched, but I don't know what I've watched. It's just, I mean, who's sitting there thinking to themselves, oh, yeah, that cat video, oh, I love that cat video. And they've got that. So this is the difference. No one's got that cat video on their shelf on a DVD or whatever that they watch every, I don't know, they go watch it every year at least 3 or 4 times until they're 50 years old. It's not like a favourite. Where are the real favourite long-lasting YouTube videos? I just don't think they're going to exist. The whole point of it is that it's fleeting. I mean, I didn't understand Snapchat. The fucking thing that you create disappears after 2 seconds, or however many seconds, I don't know, I don't use it, but I'm like, why would you do that? The purpose of artistry and culture is partly to generate a sense of cultural continuity somehow, or shared experience. I thought anyway. And that's the point with the internet. You don't really get much sense of shared experience going on, because everyone's watching their own things and reading their own things and listening to their own things. And so everything's more niche now. You're your own niche, and everyone's their own niche. Niche. Americans call it niche. Quiche niche. We're all our own niche. Niche and niche. We're all one niche. We're all niche. Nietzsche. Niche. It's a wicked word. Niche. Quiche. So we're all a niche, aren't we? And everyone's interests is very different. I don't think there's ever been a time in the world where people's culture, ethnicity, sexuality, gender, political views, interests, personal history, mental health, condition or non-condition, clothing, styles, hairstyles, all the above, have been so different from individual to individual. Now, so let's try and summarize that, because that was a long sentence. I don't think there's ever been a time when all these different artifacts of the human being, or components of the human being, have ever been so different, so varied, so much diversity between one person and the next person. So me and my next door neighbour vary in ethnicity, age, economic status, job type, house number, languages spoken, so culture, type of car values, the type of cars that he's into or wants. I don't even know what the differences are, but there are a lot of differences. So many differences, actually. So what I'm trying to say is that the sort of like the amount of people who are on the same page and the ability to be on the same page as someone else is so difficult at this time, because everyone has their own page. So you can't be on the same page with anyone, because there is no same page anymore. The same page, just only there's the overlappingness of interests is very, very niche, specific. So finally, I've said loads of this stuff already, and it's still not fucking clear. I still don't know what the hell I'm saying, but I've arrived at one potential insight, which is people on the internet are going to start coming off the internet, because there are certain things that the internet cannot do at the moment for the human person. They cannot allow you to directly physically touch another human being, cannot allow you to directly, in the presence of a real human being, see that real human being right next to you, hear that real human being right next to you. It also cannot provide for being in the company of a large group of real life, immanent, physical human beings. We can have virtual gatherings, like conference calls, chat groups, large-scale chat groups, presentation style things where like live streaming, for example, on YouTube, where you've got like one person who is delivering a live stream to an audience of people who are watching and listening live and interacting live with each other, so they're all chatting amongst themselves in the audience. It's like a virtual fucking, I don't know, quiz night, or virtual pub night, or virtual gig night, or a virtual presentation night, or whatever, film night, something like that. So you got that, but what it cannot do is it cannot put you in the physical company of those other people. So everything is a little bit less. So the internet can certainly be a way to organize events. So what I think that will happen is that people who've been on the internet for a while as their provider, as their entertainment system, as their being a creator on the internet. So let's think of people like PewDiePie. Oh fuck, I don't know. Big internet people, basically, whoever they are and whatever they do. I think that there will start to be a migration from internet culture back to physical world culture. And there's kind of going to have to be eventually a balance between internet culture and physical culture, I think, because the human energy system, human body and emotions, mind and stuff will require us to do that, because at a certain point we will have grown out of just enjoying watching shit online. I think that this is still a new thing. You know, the internet itself is 28 years old. YouTube and social media things are also fairly young. They're kind of in their adolescence. And what do you do when you're in an adolescent phase as well? You start to grow out of what you were interested in before, and you start to develop the things that you are still interested in. So, for example, I stopped doing karate when I was like, I don't know, 13 or something, or 14. Just don't know, just fell away. I'm kind of still into it a little bit. I don't really care that much about it anymore. I probably won't ever get into it fully again. Maybe I'll get back into it when I'm like 50 or something. I don't know. But you know, you drop certain interests and activities because there's just not enough fucking energy, and there's not always the desire to continue doing things that you used to do. And you have more desire for the certain specific things that bring you greater joy and greater enthusiasm and mean more to you, and that there's more richness in them for you, and there's more ability in them for you, depending on how you fucking live your life. That was a decision that I made, which was to focus my life in a certain way according to what I wanted to do, what I like doing, and just, I don't know, something in my soul was telling me. I don't even think I saw it in that way. That was just me. That was just where I wanted to go with my life. So I just did it. I'm talking about making the decision to go into creativity and stuff. So I think there's going to be a migration from living through the internet. So it's sort of like pulling back from the internet and having a more centered physical relationship to the internet. I don't mean, that sounds really dodgy. What I mean is, it's like a balance between your physical life and your online life. Because there are people who just live. All their entertainment is through the internet. All their like socializing is through the internet. And it's more and more that way. It's not just for nerds, you know, it's not just for wieners like me living with their mum. Everybody is living through their phones and living through their computers, living through their laptops. Everyone is living like through this device, and therefore we are not living where we are, the people around us. And I think, personally, I think it's like it's a phase of maturity that we're all going through, that this is some kind of phase of humanity, where at a certain point we kind of go, oh fuck, there's this world around us, and we've been like sucked into this thing, and we like this thing, we've become basically obsessed with it. And the thing with obsessions, though, is if you really go into an obsession, you learn what you need to learn, and you come out the other side. Because you find there's only so far you can go into an obsession before it kind of dissolves into something else, and you just go, oh, I don't know what I was so worried about or concerned about or interested in, because you find what you need from that thing. That's a big statement to make, especially if you have a completely contrasting view of obsessions, and you think that obsessions become more and more obsessive the more you obsess about them, which, I don't know, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. So yeah, I think that we are going to start pulling back from the internet. I think this is why I've been saying lately that YouTube is dead, because I think that what is going to happen, and what is happening, is people are wanting to return to the old way of relating to people, which is by being with them and by being next to them and actually chatting to them and not having a phone in between them, and not like oh man, my brother was chatting to my mum through the other room, like in the other room, and that's been happening for ages, that kind of thing. But it's just ridiculous to a certain point. You're like, she's just out there, just talk to her here. But everyone's like, it's a safety net. It's a very safe way of communicating because there's no physical threat. There's no physical emotion. There's no like sort of imminent emotional response from the internet. It's like we can have our personal individual response to life and be safe, but and communicate with this little barrier, which is what it is a barrier. But the barrier is an interface. So the barrier of the phone is a protection in a way. That's why we're using it, I think, because we use the barrier of the phone and the computer to put something in the way there to slow down too much, and we can stop when we don't like it. And if someone's chatting shit to us too much, we can block them. So there's all these ways of filtering other people from our lives, because one of the difficulties with real life interactions is they're full of conflict. They're full of potential danger, emotional danger, psychological danger, physical danger even. There's that realness to them. Shit could get ugly quite quickly. So the internet is very protective for us in that sense. So we use it as a way to protect ourselves from other people. However, over time we're going to feel safer because we've had this time of like sort of in our little mind and emotion bubble with the internet, and then we rebirth from that back into the real world in a feeling of safety. Maybe that's what this whole thing has been about, because I have looked at the world, and from the September the 11th attack in 2001, that was the pinpoint moment where I feel as though the world suddenly went into a phase of darkness and distrust of fellow human beings and feeling of fear, basically. An atmosphere of fear, an atmosphere of distrust, an atmosphere of edginess around other people hiding inside more, basically. Children not playing out in the streets anymore. People not talking to each other very much in general anymore. Friendliness levels are down. Suspicion of other people level is up. Concern about what other people are up to is up. The potential threat from other people is higher. Everyone seems dangerous all the time, even in good, nice areas. But that was been there for a long time, and it's only recently that I've started to even recognize that this fucking atmosphere of fear thing, this sort of veil of darkness in the air, and this feeling of watch out for the other person and report them to the police, and if you find something suspicious on a train, then call the transport police, and all this like edginess and friction and just like subtle scared feeling in everyone has been there on and off. And felt like there was a brief interlude in kind of 2014 or so, but then it's come back again. So it's been there for like ages and ages and ages. And I think that this might be an insight, or it might be not, maybe not. But I think the internet is our way of hiding. It's our way of feeling safe. And perhaps we will emerge from this age of the internet having developed a feeling of safety in our own individuality, and then we can return into a wider social world with more acceptance of other people, less fear of other people, and more safety in our own personal identities. Like I've noticed people just don't talk anymore, and they're always trying to escape from talking to other people for any length of time, like neighbours. We're always trying to escape from real conversations and go to the next thing, get into our phone instead. And it was never like that. Never like that back in the day. So yeah, okay. I think I said probably pretty much everything that I want to say. No. The other thing, I just want to reiterate this point that I think that here's another point. So imagine all the different people that you got on YouTube, right? Look at all the different fucking people there are on YouTube. Now, think of all these people who are making content, creative content, who have got a big audience or even just a small audience. And imagine if all of those people, or a significant portion of those people, suddenly decided to go, I've had enough of YouTube now, I'm going to bring what I do into the real world somehow. I'm going to bring this to a real live audience and a real live set of audiences. So I'm going to make this into a show instead of an online thing. I'm going to take what I've done here and I'm going to make it into a live show somehow with real people on real seats in a real auditorium or a real theatre or whatever, or into a large-scale cinema piece of some kind, and see where I'm going with this? Oh my lord, can you imagine like this? Think of that. So we've got this YouTube platform. I'm just going to go with YouTube for the moment, but even thinking of like the thing that we've got with music and streaming and all the people who are making music independently, at home on their computer, synthesizing things, making things. There's so many people are able to make music now than have ever been able to make music before. The sheer amount of cultural information that there is, the sheer volume of people making things is astonishing. The amount of entertainers now that there are in the world is massive. And imagine if all these people who are currently only operating online suddenly go, I feel like going offline for a bit and doing what I've learned in the online realm and taking that out into the wild and attracting my audience who are already interested in what I do online and attracting them out into the real world to come and actually see me do what it is that I do, performed live. I don't know, it could be even something like let's say PewDiePie does one of his gaming things, and instead of it being a video, he does that as a live performance on a big screen, and it's him playing with him projected on a giant screen, playing his computer as he would do. And I don't know. I mean, obviously, there's the issue of editing, because people tend to edit their videos, so that might have to go, or something has to happen. We need to work out how do we go from editing our videos, and then we have to structure that. If you want to take an edited video and structure that into a performance piece of some kind, then you have to be able to like write that down and act it out or something. I don't know the ins and outs of that whole thing, but if you can do something live, with real people in a real auditorium or a real venue of some kind, with real bums on seats, and you're on a real platform of some kind, and you've got like imagery large and your music or whatever, and it's a show, it's a fucking show, then what we have with YouTube, and this is the exciting part, what we have here is we have a cultural revolution, but we also have a real life cultural revolution, and not just an online digital revolution. So we've got audiences who are already there for stuff. So it's only a matter of like willingness and cultural trend to happen for us to go from us sitting at a computer and watching our favorite artists, video artists, whatever you want to call them, creators, to moving that out into a wider world thing, where there's a difficulty, because obviously if PewDiePie, let's say the most subscribed YouTuber, is going to do a live performance, he's got his audience is spread out around the whole fucking world, which is a real bummer. This is the bummer of it all. The whole bummer is that the point of the internet is that it can connect people from all over the world. So the bummer is the physicality of the situations. But I'm sure that we'll figure that shit out somehow. So
But can you imagine? Think of this. Think of the sheer amount of channelage. There's so many channels on YouTube doing so many different things, and if all of these people, not all of them, let's say even a certain percentage of them, more than they are now, brought what they were doing on their channels into the real world in some kind of way that works for them and for their audience, then we could have a real fucking physical culture again. But like, and there's so much more material, and it'd be fucking exciting. Just can you hear what I'm saying here? That if we somehow brought what we do in the online forums and the online mediums and the online forms, if we found a way to bring that into life bigger, in big form, that in a way, like, I don't know, I feel like maybe YouTube is kind of like a breeding ground for a new wave of cultural renaissance-ness, and the internet is a breeding ground for a new fucking wave of cultural real life culture, because it's like, it's fucking rich, it's really rich. But the reason that this is necessary, I think, to go from being online into real world is because online can't do certain things. It can't give you certain experiences that real life living can. And I think that there's going to be, if there isn't already, there certainly is in my life, there's going to be a craving for the real life experience again. There's going to be a craving for the physicality of culture again. There's going to be the need to connect beyond the fucking computer. There's going to be the craving to connect along the same topics and interests and avenues of creativity and whatever, but in the real world. And I don't like this is already happening. Yes, so this is already happening, but I feel like this is the next thing for it to, the next place for it to go big time. So okay, I think that's what I've tried to say. I think that's the idea. The idea here is that I certainly would like this to happen, that everything that is already being done on the internet, if we then somehow bring that into real life bigger, more, then we have possibly the most exciting physical, tangible culture to enjoy. Because one of the annoying things about YouTube and the internet, generally speaking, is the fucking flimsiness of it all. The no thingness, the no article, no artifact, no item, no experience, no event. You know, it's all very kind of like small in a screen or even on a big TV screen, but it's all like very home based. It's home based, individual, it's solitude. The connection is from you in your space of solitude with other people in their space of solitude. So yeah, but there's no like unifying feeling about that with the reality of the whole thing. You know, if all the YouTube channels became meetup groups, you know, if meetup groups actually fucking were any good, meetup groups are shit, man. They're so ill attended. Yeah, we could just have this big explosion, like a massive explosion of the cultural renaissance that I have been hoping for and wishing for, and I can now see, you know, I fucking starting to see how it could happen. So, right, I think that's everything I've said. That's everything I wanted to say, sort of.